Hey YouTube, what's going on? This is iTalk2, and in today's video we're covering Overwatch 2 with some patch notes that just dropped for the Battle for Olympus LTM event sort of thing. Now, I did go through a few of them already, only because I tried recording this before, and my recording software is just not liking me today. So I'll quickly go over through everything here. Capture the Flag Competitive begins on January 10th and can be found in the competitive play menu instead of arcade. So there you go with that. It's not CTF Blitz, so I'm automatically not interested, but I'll try it out. I don't see why not. Also, the competitive play loading screen has been updated. I'm not 100% sure what that means. I'm assuming it just looks nicer. No idea. So, Junkerqueen got some buffs. I did read this out loud. Now heals for the remaining wound damage when an enemy dies with wounds on them. Essentially, what I think this means is that if you, hit someone with melee or whatever and it wounds them, if they die prematurely before all the wound damage can get to you, it will now just get to you. So, that is a buff. It's not a huge buff, but it's still a buff nonetheless. Carnage the Axe. Cooldown is now reduced by 2 seconds for each enemy it impacts. This is kind of huge just for frontlining because you can probably get a few of these off in quicker succession, but I only seem to hit maybe one person with this at a time. There's too many characters that boop you, like Zenyatta Kick, Lucio boop. There's just too many characters that punish you if you go too deep when they're stacked up. So we'll have to wait and see on that. That seems a little bit rough, but it's a buff nonetheless. So, I mean, even if you hit one person, it's a buff. Jagged Blade thrown impact damage reduced from 80 to 50, which is a nerf, but they also say here that thrown direct impact now adds a 30 damage wound to the stuck target, and it stacks with other wounds caused by quick melee or returning Jagged Blade hit. So this is actually a buff. Again, it's not a super substantial buff, but it's still a buff nonetheless. So, pretty cool there, Junkerqueen getting some buffs. Now, with Zarya, I thought that this was a glitch here, this little square here. Apparently, this is just nothing. So, energy. Energy degeneration reduced from 2.2 to 2 per second. This is a buff because, it's a little bit slower. Delay before energy degeneration begins after gaining energy increased from 1 second to 2 seconds. So, this is also actually a pretty huge buff. So, basically, what would happen is that after you were done getting charge, it would start decreasing your energy very fast. Now it's 2 seconds instead of 1 second. That's a buff for Zarya. I think she needed this. I know the nerfs they gave her were a little bit small, but they added a lot. They made it so instead of 2.5 second bubbles, it's now 2 seconds. I agree with that. And then what was it? 11 second bubbles instead of 10. Again, I agree with that. But that kind of killed her momentum a little bit. So hopefully this will increase. Now, I have not seen anything for support yet. This is completely blind. Brig, health increased with their shield from 250 to 300. It's a buff. Is it enough to make Brig even close to usable at all? I don't think so. She still needs that ult rework, in my opinion. I don't think that she is substantial enough to really stand on her own. I feel like Brig is probably the weakest healer in the game right now. It increases survivability. There's that. So it's a buff. I could see this actually being somewhat beneficial. Yeah, I don't know what they need to do to her to make her better. Again, the ultimate is just outdated. They need to make a better ultimate. But the fact that her ultimate is outdated automatically means you shouldn't even be running her. Again, she's not terrible, but I think she's the worst healer in the game. Kiriko does too much. Ana right now does too much. Mercy is a pocket deep damage boost. Zen, too much damage output with 30% damage increase with Discord Orb. I think it's 30%. Even if it's 20 or 30%, it's still a lot. Lucio, of course, is just always meta. So, and then Moira. Apparently Moira got some changes I have no idea about, but someone told me that she might be meta. So, let's see what they say here. Dealing damage with Biotic Orb now restores a small amount of biotic energy. Oh my god. Yeah, that's kind of huge. Oh my god. She was already kind of meta in open queue. Now she's going to really be meta now. Because the only way you were able... Wow, that's actually huge. Because the only way you were able to get your heal back was by doing right-click damage, not with Orb. Orb was never able to give you energy back, but now it does. I don't know how much it does. I actually want to go... I have never done this before, but just for just for the sake of it, let's go into practice range. I want to see how effective these things actually are with the changes. So first things first, I want to see Moira, because Moira is a character I'm very invested in, kind of, sort of. And I want to see how substantial this is. So, like I said, usually with your left click, let me just deplete all this. And then the only way to get it back is by doing this, which is risky because then it puts you in, like, you know, slightly bad positioning. But now the Discord orb now gives you that too. So here, let me deplete more of this just to show you how much this is. Let's try it. Yeah, that's a bit. It's not as much as the right clicking, because look, right clicking is so much faster. But dude, it's something. That's honestly kind of big for Moira. Does that make her meta? Open queue, again, like I said, I think she's already kind of meta in open queue because you're running 3 tanks, 4 tanks sometimes with a Moira healer. This just makes her more sustainable with her healing output. And her healing output is one of the best in the game already. So there's that. Brig shield, it's now 300. There's not much to show here. It's 300 now. More survivability, sure. I'm glad they didn't like make it like 500 because that would have been kind of nuts. It's something, I guess. It's something. So there you go with that. Moving on from that, we have yeah, with Zarya here. I can't really show that off with this. But yeah, then with Queen,
Olympus, it's where I
let me just destroy these bots real fast here. Might as well destroy the Tracer here too. So with this, it's now 50 on the impact. Just on impact, but then, okay. So it does do a bit of damage, and again, it stacks with the bleed anyway. So let's try it again with Tracer this time. So it was 50. So it's still essentially 80. It's still essentially 80. Just, yeah, that's overall a buff. Like, they didn't decrease the damage, they only decreased the impact. But if you keep the blade in them, it still does about 80. So there you go with that. And yeah, so you saw there with the melee here, it's on an 8-second cooldown, but if you hit one person with it, it's a 6-second cooldown. That's insane. 6-second cooldown on this is really good. So if I hit both of these guys, I think that hit both. It did. It's now 4 seconds. So then I get to use it again. This might be strong in open queue, because again, open queue has a lot of sustainability because you're running 2 very high potent healers, right? Yeah, you know what? I kind of downplayed Queen's buffs. They're actually pretty decent. Again, maybe only for open queue, it's still very good. And then, like I said, with Zarya, with the energy, Doomfist didn't get anything. Did anyone else get anything? I don't think anyone else really got anything worth of note here. I can't even check the thing here, sadly. But I think that's it for the patch notes here. Yeah, Queen, huge buffs, honestly. These are actually kind of huge. Zarya, it's a slight buff, and then Brig's a slight buff, and then Moira. Yeah, Moira might be really good for open queue. For normal queue, it's still pretty good for normal queue. It really is. We'll have to wait and see if she can, like, compete with Kiriko, Ana, Lucio, and stuff like that. I think she can kind of compete. We'll have to wait and see on how it turns out. But guys, that is it for my patch note reaction video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and have a good one, everyone. See ya.